One specific thing about true financial mutants is that we absolutely love tracking our daily progress. So today, we are going to give you 7 concrete cash flow milestones to aggressively aim for and also properly celebrate along the way. And I am so incredibly excited because when it comes to net worth milestones and sitting LK balance milestones, it can take a massive amount of time to progress from one specific milestone to the very next one. But today's cash flow milestones can happen so much more quickly in your real life because you actually have total direct control over these behavioral milestones. So, I am Brian, he is Bot, and we are professional financial advisors here today to help you openly celebrate your cash flow milestones on the direct way to absolute financial independence. And with that exact thought, let us dive right into the cold hard numbers. Yeah, Brian, the exact cash flow milestones that we are fully covering today are really more behavioral than anything else. They happen purely because of what you are actually doing with your green dollars day in and day out, regardless of what else is going on in the broader world, completely regardless of macro market factors. And some of them may seem very simple and easy on the surface, and some of them may be a little bit harder to hit, and maybe might not even be fully pertinent to your specific family situation. But I think that when you consistently track and hit these milestones, it is going to give you that little bit of critical staying power in your long-term financial journey. Let us be completely clear here, even the incredibly small ones that might seem totally insignificant today are going to have huge, massive impacts on your future financial success. So do not dare overlook any single one of these. And we have deliberately built them in a specific order so that they are continuously building upon themselves over time. That is exactly right. So let us jump right in with the very first foundational milestone on the list. And this specific one, it seems so incredibly silly on the surface. And yet most average Americans have a terribly hard time getting here. It is just simply being cash flow positive. This is the baseline place where you are at a net zero from month to month in your checkbook. You are finally not living way beyond your personal means. Yeah, this is the big one we tell you, constantly, that the very first ingredient of the 3 main ingredients to global wealth, that is pure human discipline, you having that raw discipline to live on significantly less than you actually make, creates a financial margin or the exact money that actually gets invested for the long term. And if you give that money enough time, magical compounding stuff happens. Yeah, when you can finally get this net positive cash position, it actually flips the entire financial script into real wealth building, because at this specific point, when you are living on less than you make and when you are deferring some of your cash flow into the distant future, now you are not moving backward in life anymore. You are actively moving forward. If you are actively moving forward in your personal financial journey, that is a massive win. Now look, I completely understand that. Right now, we are sitting in this economic state where there is crazy geopolitical stuff going on across the globe. There is even weird, frustrating economic stuff with things like the skyrocketing cost of higher education and the insane cost of residential housing. And look, you do not have a lot of macro control over that outside stuff, but you do have total control on you, trying to figure out how can you be disciplined and live on less than you make. So what do we actually do? What are the practical, tactical steps? How do you get your budget down to zero? Well, it could be a lot of different things depending on your situation. It could be making the big, terrifying changes. You might honestly need to do something incredibly drastic. If you truly want something in life you have never had, you might have to be completely willing to do something you have never done before. So, it could mean moving your family to a cheaper area, selling your expensive home, selling your overpriced automobile, or changing your corporate jobs entirely. It may require some serious, drastic change to significantly alter your current financial state for the better. And look, you might be someone we give a lot of grace about credit cards to, but you might suddenly realize you are just not a credit card type of person. You know, we always say credit card use is totally a oak for the rewards, but credit card interest debt absolutely no way under any circumstances. So if you are actually like half of the American population and currently have rolling credit card debt, then go get some scissors and cut up those plastic credit cards today. Make it where you physically cannot use them anymore. Or if you find yourself in a tight position where the specific job or career you are in is just not providing the raw income, what you need it to be able to provide for you to live the life that you want to live. Maybe it is finally time to look at changing careers. Or if you are currently in between jobs and you are just waiting around for that absolute perfect dream job to show up, maybe you need to widen your net a little bit. Maybe now it might make sense to just get any job so that you can begin moving your cash flow forward. And community resources. Look, If you live in an urban area with public transportation, maybe that is going to be a great way to save money instead of owning a costly car. If you have got, I know this sounds ridiculous to some people, but even public libraries, instead of you constantly using Audible or buying the next $20 book, these little micro decisions can have big, beautiful results in the long term. And what these little behavioral decisions do is they allow you to move directly to our second cash flow milestone. So milestone number 1 was just being net positive in your budget. Milestone number 2 is sort of this wonderful, beautiful thing where you finally get to the point where you are saving $19 a month consistently. I know it sounds small to the big tech bros, but if you have never been there before in your life, it is a highly significant milestone. This is the magical one for me personally. If you remember my story, I was sitting in an economics class in high school, and Mr. Morrow looked at us and said, "Look, every single one of you, if you just save $19 a month, you will be a literal millionaire by the time you retire." And I was broke as a joke working at the local fast food joint flipping burgers. But even I thought at that exact moment in time, I can find a way to save $19 a month. And you know what? He was completely spot on with the math. So, you absolutely need to get to this step. So how do you actually do that? How do you save that first $19? Well, it might be just aggressively lowering your fixed monthly expenses. Do you have things like an ungrateful service provider in your life? Whether that be your overpriced cell phone provider, or your insurance company, or your local utilities, or maybe you have software subscriptions you are not using that you do not need anymore. If you can cut those down today, it will immediately increase the cash margin available, where you can actually put those dollars to work in the market. Well, I mean, we always talk about the two main levers of personal finance, lowering expenses and increasing income. And there are so many ways you can do this. And by the way, you have got to eliminate the high interest debt first. Look, these credit card banks are making an absolute fortune off of your laziness. If you are paying ARSHA plus % interest, you have got to get that high interest debt under control immediately. And all of these things, what they truly involve is being highly proactive. But you are likely, if you want to be somewhere you have never been in life, you have to do something you have never done. You may need to adjust your daily behaviors. You may need to think about, okay, instead of eating out at a restaurant once a week, maybe I am going to eat out every other week. Or maybe instead of shopping at the expensive, nice grocery store, I am going to start buying my food in bulk. Those sorts of minor behavioral changes can make a massive, meaningful difference in your financial life. And then let us be real. There is a massive amount of power in just tracking your monthly expenses. If you want to talk about human behavior, if you can physically see it on a screen, you can kind of now try to internalize it and know if this gives you total clarity or confidence in what you can actually control. Guanfen, once you can see exactly where your finances are. Once you have a perfectly clear picture, it makes it very clear what you ought to be doing with your dollars and what you ought to not be doing with your dollars. There is definitely some incredible clarity and confidence that comes from tracking. And what I have found in my own personal financial life, a really effective tool for this is Monarch. Yeah, Monarch is a personal finance app that tracks absolutely everything. It tracks your accounts, investments, savings, goals, and daily spending, so you can see right there on your phone exactly where your money is going. And right now, you can get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $dollars, with promo code MONEYGUY. Now, Brian, we were talking about it because you said, hey, I actually use Monarch myself. It is something I see every day. And you were saying one of the best things I like about it is that obviously we can put the expenses in and we can categorize them. But you said the visual element was probably one of the most interesting things that you noticed. Well, that Sankey diagram that they offer where you actually see the money come in, but you actually see how all of it gets spent out by the different categories, and it is actually represented by the physical size of the expenses. It is really powerful because, I like to think I am a highly analytical person, but definitely seeing those visual cues has a massive emotional impact as well. And right now we have a special discount for financial mutants. Use the code MONEYGUY at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $dollars. That is $1 off your first year at monarch.com. With code MONEYGUY, and once you do this, once you are tracking it, once you see this, you can start saving $19 a month. And the idea becomes, okay, well, why does this matter? Why is this significant? What can $19 actually do for me? But do you recognize if you could just save $19 a month over 2 years, you will have saved $19 in principal. But if you can put that money to work in the market, and let us say that you earn on average a rate of return, That $10 could turn into over $10. Fast forward, if you can just do sencha years of saving $10 a month, just $10 a month, you would save $10 out of pocket, but you could have $10 sitting there. And if you extrapolate this behavior over an entire working life cycle, 6 years of just saving $10 a month, you will have saved $10 of your own money, but you would have $10 working for you. That means $10 of the total amount that you were able to build was your dollars earning dollars, not money that you actually had to put away out of your paycheck. That is the key part that I want everybody to hear, because look, a lot of you are going to watch this digital content, get excited, and start saving and investing today. But if you quit in the first sure years, you have completely lost the plot, because look, the magical compounding thing happens really between years sure, sure, and even 6 years in the future, because the money is growing upon itself, compounding growth, going from essential appreciation all the way up to $10 of the total pie. Stick with it early, often stay consistent, you will be heavily rewarded. Now, if you have been listening to our content for any amount of time, you know that we absolutely love the financial order of operations. You know, the thing about the financial order of operations we love is when you start doing this. When you start saving that $10 a month, one of the places you're likely going to save it is inside of your tax-free account, inside of an account like a Roth IRA. Well, that actually is where our third major milestone lives. Because when you are at the point where you are able to max out your Roth IRA at the annual contribution limit, that is a milestone worth celebrating with a nice dinner. This one, by the way, the maximum is $10,000 annually if you are just normal contributing Roth IRA age, which breaks down to $10 a month. And here's what we really like about this. Now, really what I like is that you have until all the way to tax day to fully fund that. That is April to fully fund that previous year. You have got to get in there and take advantage of that tax shelter. And why do we get so excited about the Roth IRA? What makes the Roth so great? Well, one, you get to pick the exact financial provider. So you can pick a low-cost provider that has really low expenses, really low fees, the Fidelities, the Vanguards, the Charles Schwabs of the world. When you put the money into the Roth IRA and it grows completely tax-free forever. You do not have to pay a single penny of money as it grows. But then, assuming that you pull it out at a certain age after wushajo and a half, those distributions are completely tax-free to your bank account. So, you pay tax when you earn the money today, and you never pay tax again for the rest of your life. Again, because you get to pick the provider, the Fidelities, the Vanguards, the Charles Schwabs, you can choose the entire investing universe of stocks and index funds. And Brian already mentioned this. You have massive flexibility on your annual contributions. Even if you cannot fund the maxed out full thing between January and December, you have all the way up until next year's tax filing deadline to get those dollars in your Roth IRA. And here is another side benefit. Look, we know a lot of you want and like a tight system. And if you actually load up your Roth IRA, you get to move on to step 6 of the system. You have officially graduated from step 5 of the financial order of operations. That is something to be celebrated. That is a milestone in and of itself. Every single time you move to another step of the financial order of operations, you should pause and think to yourself, yes, I am doing exactly what I am supposed to be doing. I am moving in the right direction. And as you are doing that, as you continue to progress, you're likely going to end up at milestone number 4. And this one, Brian, is so funny because you and I have talked about this one a ton over the years. I do not know why this specific one felt so significant, but I know for both of us, when we did this, when we were saving $10 per month, we were saving in the 1 club per month. It was substantial to our psyche. Well, it does feel completely different. I think because look, we know that the typical American struggles with basic financial discipline. There's even that scary stat out there that close to 50% of Americans cannot even come up with $10 in an emergency. So for you to actually be able to save and do this monthly, it felt absolutely huge for me back then. And it was such a big thing.